Well, hello there and welcome to the candy wallpapered upstairs hallway of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers for December 3rd, the day of Ingenuity. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation, if you like. Well, we have us an image of, can you guess? Oh, boom, it's an old-timey light bulb, and it's flanked by some, I guess what you call some garland, if you like. I don't know. Is that an adequate representational image of the day of Ingenuity? Who's to say? But maybe we'll make some connotations as we get on with the read as to why they chose as much. That being said, not altogether all too important. What is important, though, is it's December 3rd, and it's somebody's birthday. And so I just want to say, happy birthday. That's right. Wishing you a happy birthday. That's what's important. But I don't know, maybe this video finds you late, days, weeks, months, whatever the case may be. But if that is the case, I just want to say, I hope you had a happy birthday. That being said, we get people in here that it isn't their birthday. They're just curious, or maybe they're here to celebrate. And if that's the case, I just want to say welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. That being said, something I like to do around these here parts before I dive in with the birthday redirect, I like to roll some dice. That's right. It is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so gotta live up to the namesake, but I do some more importantly for synchronicity's sake. That's right. Here I rolled a 4 and a 6 for a 10. Now, what is synchronicity? You're probably wondering. Well, too often in life we get out there and get on with our day very laser focused on what we need to do, getting errands done or tasks done, but we don't really have time to see what's going on around us. We got the blinders on, if you like, and this is just kind of an exercise in taking those blinders off. You see, the idea being that we put things out into the universe, and the universal powers that be, they kind of line things up for us in our path to help us make those particular ends come to fruition, if you like. But again, we got the blinders on. We don't necessarily see those things. And so this is an exercise to hopefully help us figure out how to get those blinders off, because here we are trying to manifest the universe showing us things in our path. That's right. What's the perfect thing to do is find some numbers that we can let the universe talk to us with those through. That being said, you might just find a lot of this to be coincidence, and if that's the case, hey, lean into it. Let's generate some coincidences, shall we? And let's do so by getting some mutually agreed upon numbers with the powers that generate coincidence. That being said, you don't have to go with the numbers I rolled for you, but it's probably advisable you take your own set of dice. So you can not only get your numbers, but also directional values that you might ascribe to number sets there, and also time limits with which to go in those directions. That said, once you get all that figured out, pick you a place to start from, maybe the town square, roll your dice, get your directional value, your time limit, and set off. That's right. But stay eagle-eyed for your numbers, not just your numbers, but also anomalies, things that might come across your path. Keep them blinders off, all right? You're here to see what you can see. It's just like when someone mentions a car and then you start seeing it all over the place. So you know what? It was always there. You just weren't taking note of as much. So yeah, maybe you start to see, I don't know, light bulbs everywhere, but like painted on the sides of buildings, maybe advertisements for as much. It's just the universe showing you that you're on the right path. That's right. At least that's my take on it. You might think it's coincidence, like we said. So you know what? Hey, there's a coincidence for you. See what else generates. Maybe you get to the end of your time limit and you're not seeing anything. Well, just stop, compose yourself. Take a minute. You don't see anything, no numbers, no light bulbs, no theme that might take place. Well, roll yourself the dice again. See what happens. Which way are we going? How long are we going? Hey, you know what? Maybe somebody crosses your path and they just stand out. Maybe they're wearing like a pink shirt and everybody else is just wearing regular, boring colors. You know what? You might even roll the dice to see how long to follow them for. That's right. See where they're going. See where they might take you. The universe might have put them on their path just to cross yours. That's right. Or maybe not. Who's to say? But you know what? Take a chance. See where they go. Just make sure you get some space between the two of you. You don't want to be creeping on anybody, right? And maybe they go to a coffee shop and you're like, you know what? I needed a coffee. I needed to get my energy up. I'm a little bit soaked from expanding my horizons. That's right. But you know what? Hey, maybe they see that you're following them and they confront you about it. Hey, you know what? If that's the case, just be transparent. Be open about it. Show them this video. You never know. Maybe they go, you know what? I'm going to join you. This is crazy because I needed something in my day. I need some coincidence in my life, or some synchronicity, if you like. And you know what? Maybe you just made a new friend. Maybe they're like, all right, where do we go? And you're like, no, man, I was following you. Or lady, who's to say who it is? And just let it all come together. Because there's another argument to be had that more people helps to manifest better results. So you know what? Bring along as many people as you can. In any event, I think you get the idea. So get out there, see, taste, touch, see, maybe even smell a little bit of the magic. Hopefully it's a good smell. Sometimes they aren't. You know what I'm saying? In any event, like I said, I think you get the idea. So let's get on with your birthday read. Your month is December. Your day is the 3rd. Your sign is 10 to 12 degrees Sagittarius of the Sagittarius II period specifically, the first day of it. And your quality and elements is mutable fire. All right, December 3rd. Day of Ingenuity. Those born on December 3 let very little stand in the way of realizing their visions. Ingenious in carrying out their plans, they can be as secretive or manipulative as they need to be to get where they want to go. Yet this is not per se a day of great personal ambition. Those born on this day, rather, are more interested in their creations, family, jobs, or hobbies themselves than they are in gaining fame or power for its own sake. Perhaps to some family members as disdain. December 3 people may not be overly concerned with making a financial success of themselves either. Both craftsman-like and creative gifts are the legacy of December 3 people. Often technically oriented, they may in fact qualify as perfectionists. Yet frequently enough, they are able to strike a common chord with their fellow human beings who, respecting their dedication and single-mindedness, will often take the trouble to show interest in what they are doing. Such interest is not essential to those born on this day who are quite able to continue working without the need for constant approval from others, and actually may even prefer being left alone. In fact, those born on this day often require a high degree of privacy, and at a certain crucial juncture in their lives may need to withdraw completely from the world. And during such periods, which usually come after age 30, it says in parentheticals, they may even come to be known as recluses. It is almost as if they can only achieve their maximum concentration by being alone and able to plug into some higher source. And indeed, their accomplishments sometimes seem inexplicable without benefit of a higher power or inspirational force which acted as a guide. This is not to say, however, that December 3 people are particularly devotional or religious people. On the contrary, they tend to be highly rationalistic, perhaps even a bit cynical. One danger for December 3 people is that they will get so caught up in their work that they will neglect their personal development. And indeed, personalities, their own or others, it says in parentheticals, may not be of the greatest interest to them. Basically, in their minds, they have been given certain mental tools, talents, or physical abilities to work with. And that's it. But hopefully, sooner or later, they will see the wisdom in getting to know themselves at a deeper level, searching and probing themselves with the same intensity they give their work. And if they do take this step, the quality of their work can become more universally human and less specific or technical. All right. How about that for a pretty interesting birthday breakdown? A little bit narrow focused, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. That being said, I thought it had a lot of value to it. With that being said, I like to perform a little bit of a commentary if you like. So let's dive into some notes I took. Maybe make some connections with other things. I can't quite remember what I wrote, so let's get into it. December 3rd, the day of Ingenuity. All right, here. Letting very little stand in the way of realizing your visions, okay? You're apparently ingenious at carrying out your plans and your dreams, all right? Hence the title, I would assume. But even if that means being secretive or manipulative, all right? That said, somehow that doesn't necessarily translate to personal ambition, it said. As you'd rather invest your time in the pursuit of your interests rather than notoriety. And that also apparently extends to finances as well, which, if others don't get, well, they just don't get it, right? But unless maybe you rub off on them a little, so to speak. Me personally, I think it's a good thing, all right? The work is paramount, okay? Money's great, but personal fulfillment, there's another dynamic to that, a whole other level of value in it. And you can't necessarily put a price on that, unless you can, who's to say? But they also say that you're creative people to the extent that you make it your legacy. And I would say that's huge. You're passionate about your passion, all right? You're also technically oriented to the point of perfectionism, but you'll also strike a chord with your fellow man. You're set to show an interest even though you don't trouble yourself with such efforts, which, as it turns out, is a little bit of a through line for this period. All right, you take an interest in your fellow man, but it doesn't necessarily define you, at least in terms of how you define yourself. Others might see it as much. Who's to say? But the reading furthers that such interests, like I said, aren't essential, as you don't need constant approval to function, which is great. That could be a huge hindrance for a lot of people, which tells me you're both grounded and your interests come from a genuine place. Kind of salt of the earth, if you like. At least by my read, all right? But what makes it may be essential at times is your privacy, apparently, okay? The works you produced from these self-imposed breaks come off to others as beyond what should be realized by one person alone, all right? I think they said a higher power might have a little bit of its hands in there. That's how perfect your work is. That being said, a danger exists that you might get too caught up in these works to the detriment of your own well-being. All right, a kind of devaluation of your actual value. All right, at least by the book's rationale, which I would say, hard as it may be, maybe effort to understand that you are the product and the product isn't. All right, I don't know. Does that make sense? Who's to say? It's in objective terms, you're the individual who's the valuable part of the whole process, because it wouldn't come to fruition without you, right? But I think that's an interesting way of putting it, because maybe that's exactly how you need to hear it for it to make sense. Who's to say? That being said, that's what I'd say about the breakdown. So let's move on to your numbers and your planets. All right. Those born on the 3rd of the month are ruled by the number 3 and the expansive planet Jupiter. Those ruled by the number 3 generally try to rise to the highest positions in their particular sphere. But as mentioned, those born on December 3 display greater interest in their work itself than the advancements of their career. For December 3 people, Jupiter rules Sagittarius as well, thus granting still greater emphasis to the expansive and optimistic nature of their personality and their work habits. And those ruled by number 3 love their independence and thus do well in business for themselves or working as freelancers. All right, this was a pretty highly personalized numbers and planets. Sometimes it's just a complete copy-paste job, but they personalize this one for you, so that's pretty, it's pretty interesting. I like it when they do that. Adds a little bit more of a dynamic to the situation. That being said, what I have to say about your numbers and planets. Number 3 in Jupiter for a Jupiter rulership and co-rulership. A double rulership, if you like, which grants, as they said, greater emphasis to the expansive and optimistic nature of as much. Also, your drive to be on top. Okay, this is the second mention of a dual Jupiter rulership, and this entry, it didn't really add anything extra to it in those terms. At least I was hoping to get some kind of further explanation for or expansion or elaboration on as much, because it seems like a pretty interesting thing that might lend to a lot more. I don't know. What can a dual Jupiter thing do except expand on what's already there? Maybe there's something else that happens because there's so much of it, if you like. That said, they didn't really put that in there. They also didn't really drill down on the fact that Jupiter is said to impart a little bit of luck. There was another day that talked about how experiencing luck might actually affect a person's mood one way or the other. Not much about that was, or nothing about that was said here. But hey, something maybe to take note. That's right. That's why I'm here to provide a little commentary. Add those extra flourishes in there for you. The garland, so to speak, around the light bulb. But hey, maybe you do get some of that luck, and maybe even more so than a typical Jupiter person. Something I called the double luck. Who's to say? Maybe those fruits and bars come up for you in the slots a little more often than it does for other people. Well, maybe it affects your mood one way or the other too. Who's to say? I would have liked for just a little bit more of an elaboration on as much than what they gave. But that being said, they did highly personalize it for you, so we can't fault them in that regard. And that being said, that's been your numbers and planets. Let's move on to your tarot. That's right, the tarot, one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies. But hey, you know what? We don't got to take it home with us and start dealing out the cards to predict our future, or however those tarot cards are used. So let's see what it has to say. It's your birthday. Maybe we'll make some more connections to other things. Let's get into it, all right? The third card, the major arcana, is the Empress, symbolizing creative intelligence. She is the perfect woman, the ultra-feminine Mother Earth nurturer, who embodies our dreams, hopes, and aspirations. Her steadfast qualities are often exemplified in December 3 people, who can be faithful friends and loyal family members. And the card represents positive traits of charm, grace, and unconditional love, but also negative traits of vanity, affectation, as well as intolerance for imperfection. All right, that last one seems to line up pretty well. All right, might be getting ahead of myself. What do I have to say here? The Empress for creative intelligence, which I would say fits you to a T if the breakdown is anywhere near accurate, all right? And the embodiment of dreams, hopes, and aspirations. Doubly so there, just like the double Jupiter. You value the process, the work, and the magic that can come as a result of those elements coming together, all right? At least I would argue. Though you may have to sequester yourself into a room to cobble those elements together, right? Positive traits of grace, charm, and unconditional love. And I'd say it's quite apt if your interest in the human condition, your fellow man, is true, like they said in the breakdown. If it's at all applicable, I would say that unconditional love facet's definitely in there. So just be mindful of the traits of vanity and intolerance for imperfection, all right? It may hold you back in your magical process there. I would say we get too focused on the perfection. Me as well, I'm guilty of it. But I don't get that kind of thing mentioned in my breakdown, so maybe it's to another level for you. Like I said, don't let that striving for perfection get in the way of your output, right? I'd say just keep it in mind. That's right. You can sacrifice some of the subtler things if it means getting the product out the door. But you know what? Take it in stride. Just food for thought for you. That being said, that's your tarot. So let's move on to your health. All right. December 3 people can often neglect their health and that of their families when they get carried away with their thoughts and activities. Consequently, they should simply schedule regular checkups with a trusted physician. Very much concept-oriented, they seldom fail to see the efficacy of thinking and reading about physical and mental maladies, but they must do more than merely be informed. Their technical orientation is to be encouraged in matters of diet, showing an interest in content of foods, say calories, vitamins, and relative protein, carbohydrate, fat composition, for example. And it will aid them in the choice of a healthy menu. As far as exercise is concerned, only moderate physical activity such as walking, bicycle riding, or swimming is recommended. And usually the emotions and sexual preferences of December 3 people are intensely private matters. Their modesty and need for privacy must be respected. All right. Hey, they went a little bit of a different way with this one today. Again, don't want to get ahead of myself, so let's dive in, all right? You're often neglectful of your health when you can get carried away with your process, to which you aren't alone, okay? Kind of a through line for this period in that regard. Some folks don't even eat, so their recommendation was to make sure you eat, or they binge, so they were reminded not to binge, that kind of thing. So it would behoove of you to at least get checkups with your health, because that might be your thing, is you don't really pay too much attention to that. Interesting that the reading drills down on really trying to deliver this information to you in a way that they probably think you'd be more open to hearing, which I appreciate and which I can't recall them doing here. They kind of, how did they do it? They kind of appealed to your concept, technical-oriented process, the way they worded it. They also related a diet focused on energy foods and maybe also as a means of promoting your process. Like I said, the technical-oriented, it kind of, the way they normally do it isn't really worded that way, and it's kind of hard to relate that unless you dive back into the other videos, so just take my word for it, if and you like. All right. They also say moderate exercise and what amounts to a warning for others that probably know you ostensibly to not get into your private matters, all right, which is a huge noticeable deviation, and I appreciate that. I hope you do as well, because again, they don't normally word it in such a way that it's basically advice for other folks. It's usually pretty tailored towards, just the person in question. That being said, that's been your health, so let's move on to some advice. All right. Show more interest in yourself and your personal development, all right? Sometimes delegate responsibilities to others without worrying. Beware of becoming too reclusive and maintain contact with the world and help those around you. All right. I think a lot of the stuff it mentioned wasn't a problem for you, but they're drilling down on some of it maybe being so. So again, just word to the wise here. What I have to say. I had to write it in the book, it turns out. I ran out of space on the page. Show interest in yourself, all right? Like we said before, your work is important, but the work doesn't benefit if the worker isn't able to work, all right? It says delegate without worry. You can't necessarily do everything yourself, at least in a decent timetable. That's the sacrifice. If you want to do everything yourself, it's going to take a long time to get it done. And I know better than most, all right? So take it from me. But I think that they want you to get out a bit more. Huge advice for me as well, all right? Which leads to not becoming too reclusive, okay? But yeah, get social out there a little bit. Said you like to drill down on getting to know your fellow man? Don't forget about that, all right? It'll benefit your process, at least in terms of expanding your creative horizons too, potentially. We know that's important to you as well. So there you go. Hopefully this finds you when you need it. That's something else I wanted to say. Sometimes this advice, might kind of fall on deaf ears, but sometimes these things I've found that lines up, it's just the right time. That's synchronicity again, or coincidence if you like. Because I was reading the Sagittarius II breakdown today, and the advice, it was exactly what I wanted to hear. So hopefully this was exactly what you needed to hear. All right. That being said, your advice having been related, let's move on to your meditation. All right, your meditation. If one burrows deep enough, one may come out on the other side. All right, very interesting. I don't know what to take from that, but let's do it one more time here. If one burrows deep enough, one may come out on the other side. All right, hey, there's your meditation. I'm not going to throw some spin on it for you or my interpretation of as much. It's your birthday, your meditation. You do with it as you like. If one burrows deep enough, one may come out on the other side. All right. Your meditation in the can, as it were. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror and see where we've got the strengths and the weaknesses. That's right. So your strengths, you're concentrated, you're innovative, and you're craftsman-like. All right, interesting. I think craftsman-like's the first. The other ones, they might be, but they seem pretty readily available to some extent, so maybe not. But that being said, let's move on to your weaknesses. That's right. Let's flip that objective mirror around to the side that blows up your face. Shows off all the pock marks from when you was scratching your scars, or scratching your chicken pox there as a 12-year-old and left behind the scars. That's right. Those insecurities, right? All right, let's get on with it. Right? Your weaknesses. You're secretive. You're strange, apparently, and unapproachable. Wow, I didn't get that one. They must be drilling down on the reclusiveness there. Because, I mean, they said you relate to your fellow human beings, right? So, interesting they wrote unapproachable down. But, you know what? So focused on your work and perfectionism, I could see how that might be off-putting to some folks. Or they think you're there disturbing you. That being said, you're concentrated, innovative, and craftsman-like. I think those are things that you can cobble together for that magic of yours and get over those weaknesses. That is, if and you want to. Sometimes you can see their weaknesses as a bit of a strength, too. Who's to say? That being said, your strengths and your weaknesses having been related, let's move on to those born on this day. And when we get into those born on this day, not only we get to relate who shares your company, I like to focus on something that I find important, and that's figuring out our passions. Too often I get out in the world and meet folks, ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it, and they don't. But you can't blame them. They just haven't had the time to put in the work to figure those things out. And a lot of times it takes time and effort. Sometimes a lot of us don't even know what we like, right? So, hey, you got to put in the work to figure those things out. Sometimes it takes years to be like, oh, I like this thing, I like that thing. But you don't know how to make those in some kind of financially viable process, right? Hey, we got to figure out the synthesis of as much. And this is kind of a big ask, a hard sell, but I figure, hearing the people that got their names in the book, got their stamp on the cultural zeitgeist, if you like, might help stir up the fires or inspire you to figure out your passions, or if you have them already, how to make them financially viable if you haven't. And if none of that applies to you, well, hey, we'll just see what lottery you drew. All right, so let's get on with it. Those born on this day. We have Joseph Conrad, the Polish-British novelist of Heart of Darkness and Lord Jim. And let me tell you something, Heart of Darkness, you wouldn't have thought that this guy's first language wasn't English. It's so greatly written. That being said, Joseph Conrad. Also, that book, I believe, was the impetus for Apocalypse Now, if you didn't know. All right, moving on. We have Sven Ekvist, a Swedish cinematographer, and worked with Bergman, it says. Anton Webern, an Austrian 20th century composer. Nino Rota, film composer. We also have Zlata Filipovic, a Bosnian child writer of Zalta's Diary, A Child's Life in Sarajevo. We also have Samuel Crompton, British 18th century inventor of a mule for spinning cotton. It also says we have Nicola Amata, an Italian violin maker, Gilbert Stuart, a portrait painter, Anna Freud, an Austrian psychoanalyst, and Sigmund's daughter, it says. We also have Katarina Witt, East German figure skater and four-time world champion. Two-time Olympic gold medalist. We also have Bobby Allison, the auto racer and a three-time Daytona 500 winner. Rick Mears, an auto racer, another one. Four-time Indianapolis 500 winner. George B. McClellan, the Union Civil War general and politician. We also have Haley Burnett, a novelist of This Heart, This Hunger. Andy Williams, a singer. Oh, my favorite crooner. Andy Williams, how about that? Julius Bissier, a German abstract painter. Ozzy Osbourne, the heavy metal singer of Black Sabbath fame. We also have John Bacchus, who was a computer scientist, or perhaps still is, and Luigi Pulci, an Italian 15th century poet. Hey, how about that? I thought we were going to run the gamut today for people I'd never heard of, outside of Joseph Conrad. But then we came up with Andy Williams. All right. Oh, the day of ingenuity. That being said, Yeah, like I said, I know it's a big ass hard sell to take inspiration from other people's accomplishments, and it might not even have been their passions. That might have been the job that they got suckered into, and then they just kept climbing the corporate ladder with. But you know what? That's not altogether all too important. Hopefully, it's just me, stirring up the fires of your inspiration to get after your passions. Because maybe all we need to do is hear it, get that bug in our ear, help stir up the fires. And if there's anything I can hope for you on your birthday, it's that. Oh, it's that, because we want to get out of bed in the morning doing backflips to get into our day and just get fulfillment out of what we do. Am I right? I think so. And it said for you, you're not so focused on the money anyway. You want to get that fulfillment out of your work. So, like I said, I hope that this speaks to you and that you got something out of it. But that being said, that essentially rounds out your birthday read, except to say your season is fall, your sign is Sagittarius, of the Sagittarius II period specifically. First day, like I said. And your quality and element is mutable fire. Now, what does that mean? That's a different video altogether, so I'll leave that at the end there for you. But any event, like I said, I hope you took some inspiration. But this has been November 3rd, the day of Ingenuity. Don't know that we drilled down on the light bulb and the garland around it, but hey, maybe it's all about getting fresh ideas and putting them forth into the world. The old light bulb, right? In any event, this has been The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you, Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description. Save you the trouble of typing it in the browser, and you support the channel in the bargain by clicking on and shopping through there, which I appreciate. But yeah, this makes a perfect coffee table book. I'm telling you, folks, if you're going to have company over and you're having a hard time getting the conversation started, I know it said you're secretive, but you know what? You like your fellow human beings, and you're going to learn a little bit about them, especially how they react if they don't agree with it in the least. So it's going to get the conversation flowing for sure, for better or for worse. But in any event, hey, that's not what's important here. Like I said at the top, what's important is wishing you a happy birthday. So yeah, happy birthday. That's right. And for everybody else who joined us, well, I hope you enjoyed yourself, got something out of it, and you join us for your birthday reading. That's right. With that being said, lest I forget, your daily numbers, 6 and a 4 for a 10. Get out there, see, taste, touch, feel, maybe even smell a little bit of the magic or the coincidence if you like, and just, get out there and see that the universe is with you on your path. And if you see even a little bit of it, I think you'll understand why I brought it up. You're going to do something fun, interesting on your birthday. Get the blinders off and expand your horizons. That's right. So anyway, that's the aim. That's the goal. That's right. Find out how to manifest more things into your life there. So once again, happy birthday and take care of yourself. All right. Be well.